Hi everyone, do you know the process of catching hundreds of thousands of tons of herring to earn hundreds of billions of dollars each year for fishermen? Today, let's explore the mystery of how to catch billion-dollar herring. Let's go! In History and Global Review of Purse Nets, 1971, Yunosuke Itaka writes succinctly, "Purse nets are roughly rectangular in shape. The essential feature of this type of net is that it is closed by pulling a net line, that is threaded through a series of rings along the bottom so that the lead wire is bunched or wrinkled. Designed to prevent fish from escaping through the bottom of the net when fish are pulled in, the purse seine line is so called because it pulls the net together in a manner similar to the drawstring of a bag." The fish are surrounded, the noose is pulled tight. The origin of the purse seine is in ancient Egypt. Yunosuke refers to the writer Koziki as referring to their use in sardine fishing as early as the 8th century. The hoop net was developed from the shore seine nets of Tarbet herring fishermen on Lake Fyne in the 1830s. The seine net was developed in 1826 for midwater fish, specifically the Rhode Island menhaden fishery on the Atlantic coast of the United States. Menhaden is an extremely fatty fish of the family Clupeidae. It has been canned under various names: American sardine, American sea bass, shadine and ocean trout, although, long before the advent of canneries, it was mainly used as fertilizer. According to Alan Davidson, North Atlantic Seafood, 1979, menhaden and another name, kogi, are both derived from Native American words meaning fertilizer. This was bad news for herring and many other species. By the early 20th century, purse seine nets had spread around the world, but were largely rejected by the British and Scottish herring fleets. The efficiency they brought to other North Sea herring fleets, and for newcomers Iceland, would play a major role in the loss of important markets for the Scottish cure in Russia and Germany between the First and Second World Wars. Larger catches required ever larger vessels. Much of the British fishing fleet was commandeered in both world wars and used, among other things, for anti-submarine work. Crews became familiar with ASDIC. There is some uncertainty about what the letters actually meant, but by the Second World War, underwater radar technology could locate submarines or schools of fish at great distances. The first commercial fish finders appeared around 1950. Atlantic herring were caught commercially by purse seine nets with catches ranging from 100 to 400 mount. During the 0 to 30 minutes period, individual fish were sampled from the seine net, killed by a blow to the head, and measured for blood lactate concentration. Muscle pH and muscle stiffness index were measured at 24 hours. Additionally, 100 fish sampled before and after the 0 to 30 minutes period were stored in tanks, filleted, and analyzed for meat quality, texture. Looseness, blood content, color, and appearance, before and after freezing and thawing. Results showed that pre-mortem stress associated with fishing induced anaerobic muscle activity and lactic acid formation in both muscle and blood, which increased with the duration of crowding. The onset of rigor mortis accelerated with the duration of crowding. Crowding in purse seine nets resulted in lower quality scores of fillets as seen in softer texture, increased blood content and open spaces. Except for blood content, freezing and thawing amplified all measured quality parameters related to stress levels. We conclude that fishing-related stress and crowding duration affect animal welfare and will have a negative impact on fillet quality of herring. Over the past decades, the market dynamics of Atlantic herring, Clupea haengus, have shifted from being a major source of raw material for the fish meal industry to being primarily used for human consumption. As a result, Atlantic herring, especially Norwegian spring spawning herring, NSH, has become one of the most economically valuable species in Norway's fisheries, after Atlantic mackerel, Scomber scombrus, and Atlantic cod, Gadus morhua. In 2020, Norway exported 317,418 mount of Atlantic herring, worth approx. €380 million. In line with this development, the average price of direct Atlantic bream has increased gradually from 1998 to 2020 from 0.77 to year 1.1/kg, SSB, 2021. An increasing proportion of the Norwegian bream catch is processed into fillets, which in recent years have reached around 40% by volume. Although the Atlantic bream price depends on the size distribution, Zimmerman and Heino, 2013, the overall price after retail on the market is a good indicator of the high quality of the product. It is well known that the flesh quality characteristics such as color and recent composition of Atlantic bream vary with season and maturity. Hamri et al., 2003, Heildig et al., 2012, Jensen et al., 2005. These fluctuations are quite to be expected. More challenging are the bottleneck changes in quality between different catches that may occur simultaneously in the same or different fishing grounds. In some cases, these changes can be easily addressed appropriately by using the time of death shooting function. The latter affects enzyme activity and can be associated with leakage and abdominal rupture. Fellberg et al., 2010, Fellberg et al., 2009, Valiulin et al., 2007. In addition, storage conditions such as temperature and time elapsed between capture and mode or other cold conditions are of major importance. Dang et al., 2018, Losada et al., 2007. Also of great importance is the tool used. Previous studies, cited in the Baltic study, have shown that gill netting has earlier mussel and inosine monophosphate, IMP, mortality than towing and analysis. Tula et al., 1995, while midwater trawling is known to cause mortality due to physical damage, Suyoronen et al., 1996. Purse trawling involves encircling a school of fish in a closed enclosure, tightening the distance from the bottom so that the net forms a pocket. The fish are then concentrated on the long side of the vessel and reinforced. For reinforcement, a full-fledged phase can be a high-density concentration, in excess of 200. kg/m3, lasting for a period of time or longer. Daiger et al., 2016, Teningin et al., 2012. Crowding can cause a number of physiological and environmental conditions in fish, leading to panic attacks, followed by exhaustion, hypoxia and death. Anders et al., 2019a, Olsen et al., 2012, Teningin et al., 2012. The physical stress caused by the machinery itself. When pumping fish onto vessels or when pumping between vessels when reducing fish volume is also important for quality. Daiger et al., 2016. Studies on herring show that this species responds to stress when crowded and can become exhausted within just 10 minutes, followed by death from exhaustion. Olson et al., 2012. The effects of crowding herring in honeycombs on meat quality have not been studied. Therefore, it would be important to consider whether stress associated with crowding can account for quality differences within a catch. Therefore, the aim of this study was to investigate how crawfish respond to crowding during commercial fishing and the subsequent impact on meat quality in both live and frozen products. In 4 catches. For each fish, blood was taken from the still immediately after killing before measuring the pH of the base and the base index and placed in polystyrene boxes containing ice. Subsequently, the pH of the base and the number of bases were measured at the same level for 24 hours for the quality analysis. A total of 200 herring were sampled from the last and largest catch, at the beginning of the aggregation, control, N equals 100, and at the end of the catch after 30 minutes, stress, N equals 100. The fish were killed by a heavy blow to the head and stored in RSW tanks at -1 degree Celsius for 24 hours, before being packed in polystyrene boxes with ice and transported by air to the laboratories at Nofima, Stavanger. There, the fish were managed on ice in a cold room until quality analysis. 6 days after death, all fish were filleted. From each fish, 1 fillet packet was used to measure firmness and color of the fresh profile, while the remaining fillet packet was measured equally after being vacuum packed with brine, 34, frozen at -28 degrees Celsius, and frozen after 3 months of frozen storage. Crowding mackerel. Under similar conditions as cited also resulted in higher lactate concentrations, approximately 11 millimoles/L, Anders et al., 2020. Clearly, there are some species differences in how animals respond to hypoxic living conditions and environments. A common response is an increase in primary and secondary stress responses that increase with the duration of crowding, Anders et al., 2000. And 19a, Marcelo et al., 2006, Teningin et al., 2012. In addition to disrupting the animal's physiological balance, The animal will also deplete its energy reserves over time, causing baseline lactate and premature onset of rigor mortis, Sohn et al., 2019. Previous studies of fish have found that muscle pH at the time of death is as low as 6.5, while the muscle is already stiff at the time of death, Anders et al., 2020. Unlike mackerel, herring held for 30 minutes did not reach a pH below 6.9 and reached maximum stiffness until 9 to 12 hours post-mortem, Figure 2. Most studies of farmed and marine fish species have found that fully exhausted animals reach maximum stiffness as early as 2 hours post-mortem, Anders et al., 2020, Anders et al., 2019 B. Daskalova, 2019, Lafall et al., (2015), Sohn et al., 2019, suggesting that the fish in this study were not truly exhausted at the time of death. Regarding fillet quality, it is well established that pre-kill crowding can have a negative impact on most fish species such as Atlantic cod, Erickson et al., 2011, Svalheim et al., 2020, as well as on midwater fish species, Anders et al., 2011, Svalheim et al., 2020, Ando et al., 2001, Diger et al., 2016. Sohn et al., 2019. Extraction is no exception. As can be seen in Table 1 and Figure 3, stress associated with crowding results in more blood in the fillets, higher breakpoints, softer textures, and lower quality grading. More recent studies on Atlantic cod under controlled conditions, stress control related to crowding resulted in a diversion of blood to the muscle, thus increasing the redness